Welcome into what we call a PGA Tour season preview, because after this lengthy offseason where you've had months and months or days and days to think about what just happened, it's time to start again. Are you kidding me? We're previewing, well, it's not actually the new season and it's not the wraparound season. We just know they're going to play in the fall. So why wouldn't we talk about all of it? And I will do that with Brendon de Jonge and Johnson Wagner coming up right now.
I think this is only a grip.
It's only my sole connection to this.
It's only in my hands on every single shot.
It's an extra 2 yards of carry when it matters most.
Yeah, only a grip.
Mine are only golf pride.
Respect the grip.
And with that, welcome in Gary Williams, Johnson Wagner, Brendon de Jonge. All right, boys, when you guys got out on tour, it was the way it's going to be again, meaning this is not a wraparound, what season is it? It is 23, 24. It's what it was when you guys got there. Do you like it?
Yeah, both of our rookie year was 2007, and the FedEx Cup ended. It was 4 events, and it ended a couple weeks after Labor Day in football season, mid-September. And then you played the fall. It was called the Fall Series at the time, and you played for money to figure out who would be the top 125, pretty much ending in Disney every year. Yeah. And I think it's great. I think it's great for rookies that maybe didn't have the greatest year, didn't make the playoffs. It gives them a chance in maybe a little bit less stressful environment to have another crack at earning their card.
I think it's great for the viewers. They couldn't figure out what year we were in. Was this part of this year? Was this part of next year? It makes sense. I think it's back to where it should be, and yeah, I much prefer it this way.
The other thing that we'll get before the end of the year is a little Q School, which again, with the Signature Series now, we don't know how many starts that particular, category or cards or whatever. But the fact is, look, I'm not you guys. You guys played for a living. But as somebody who covers the game, things that are interesting that you sit forward and go, my God, this is really compelling. Cards on the line for the PGA Tour is must-see television for me. I love it.
And I don't know if it's going back to 6 rounds, but it was my least. I was there at final stage 5 times. It was my least favorite tournament. And you look at it now, there's only 5 spots, but you've got 10 from the DP World Tour, 30 from the Korn Ferry Tour, and we used to have 50 spots. So they've technically gotten rid of 5 tour cards. I wish that Q School had more to give more people a chance to actually earn their card back that way, but it is nice having it back.
It was the worst event to be at, the best event to watch. It really was. You were guaranteed that something off the wall was going to happen.
Totally.
At every single Q School. I remember, wasn't Crazy Joe Daly?
Oh, yeah.
Insane.
That sent him mad that he never recovered from. That thing that hit the rim and popped out of the middle. And you were guaranteed that something weird was going to happen every single Q School.
And he and I actually roomed together for a couple of Q Schools. The one year I know it in Palm Springs, and then one year at Orange County National. And it's you don't want it. It's tough rooming with somebody. If I had to go back, I would never room with anybody. And my fiance at the time, now wife, my last year before I got my card at Q School was 06, and I had an RV at the time, and I was an absolute hermit the entire week. I didn't want to talk to anybody. Don't call me on the phone. I'm done with my round. I'm going back to my RV, and I'm resting. It's grueling with practice rounds. I mean, it's 8 days of golf.
Yes. We know the intelligence level of the people who watch these shows very, very high when it comes to golf. I know most of you know the Joe Daly thing. If you don't, just Google Joe Daly miss putt, because you will be you'll be heartbroken for him. It's just one of the most, and it didn't happen in Korn Ferry Tour event. It didn't happen at Tour event. It happened at Q School because it had to happen at Q School.
It happened to Gordon Sargent this year, 18th hole Sunday of LACC.
You are correct, sir.
Yeah.
Yeah. Charlie Reimer has some episodes of his own career, the Q School experience, just brutal. But again, like you said, worst thing to be at, best thing to watch. So we've got that. Before we talk about what we think we might see from the fall, what we like about the fall, maybe a little peek ahead to the new year, I want to ask you guys about a couple things from this year that we're going to put a bow on. And obviously, we've got the Ryder Cup coming up at the end of September, and we've got a great preview that we're going to have with Webb Simpson that we will have for you next week with a 3-time Ryder Cup participant. The major championship season, the moment of the majors, Brendan, was what? Of the 4 major championships in men's golf, what was the moment that will stand up for you?
Honestly, probably Michael Block making that hole-in-one on 15 at Oak Hill. I mean, playing with Rory McIlroy and just that crowd going absolutely nuts. That one stuck pretty.
I mean, look, his week, it's a dream week. It's not something that we're going to see likely ever again in our lifetimes, that a club professional, not only does he make the cut, he's on the cusp of getting the automatic invite back. He then plays with arguably the biggest star in the game, makes a hole-in-one on a hole that's built for a big audience in that little 15th. He gets up and down on 18, which was ludicrous, knowing that he needed to do that. Michael Block is, it's fair. You can make him the moment of the year in majors.
Well, and I think that speaks to the kind of year it was in majors. But, that was a nice moment. For me, though, it was.
Why do you say that the way that you said that?
Well,
because the whole thing got the charm choked out of it right away?
It did.
That's how I felt.
And I always knew he was a big blocky guy.
I mean, he's marketed himself pretty well since then.
He really is.
I was covering the Barracuda when Brian Harmon won the Open Championship, and I got out to the booth 3 hours before I had to because I wanted to be early to watch Brian play, and being such a good friend and watching him win the way he did at the Open Championship. And I know it was not a popular story, but it proved to a lot of people, 36 years old, not the biggest guy in the world, that it can still happen if you work hard. And Brian's been working hard for his whole life, but it's really paid off, and that was my favorite moment.
Yeah, you guys make good points about they all had good moments. They all had historic moments because whoever won is now in the most important history books in golf. But if you look at the winners, Rahm winning, no surprise. There was nothing extraordinary that was done late that you're going, oh my God, he made a bomb on 18. The Koepka angle was very interesting because we didn't know it was the first Masters with LIV. And here is, not the face of LIV, because Phil was the face of LIV. In a sneaky way, Phil's sneaky second at the Masters is it's so Phil. He jumps up and he plays with Spieth. And I went out and watched those guys that day, and I was like, really? You're going to do this? And you're going to flip him on the last hole, and they were going to post, and it was going to take something really weird for him to even have a chance, which he obviously didn't. That one I would put up there is kind of lost, and a lot of people want it to be lost because people are really down on Phil. And I get it. And the year didn't really get much better for him in terms of PR. The PGA was Michael Block's week, even though Brooks Koepka won his 5th major. The U.S. Open, to me, will be remembered for people's kind of indifference toward the venue, which I love LACC. I think it's spectacular in every way, but the membership and the fact that they tried to buy up all those tickets, and it wasn't a great viewing experience, and we're unfamiliar with the holes. And then you have two guys that go insane the first day in terms of shooting 62 and I mean, it's really? Back to back almost within 20 minutes of each other. If Ricky won that would have been, I think, the moment of the majors.
Or Rory, for that
matter. Or Rory. And that's where I get to. we're going into 2024 with Rory, and he hadn't won a major since the PGA in 14. I really think that his decision to do what he did on the 14th hole summed up the major championship season for me. It really did.
Yeah, he just couldn't hit it in that spot where he did, and then getting the great break, which I don't think he should have gotten that break. And the way the drop was given, not getting that up and down, and just didn't have it that whole Sunday. Left putt after putt short. And the venue there at LACC, fairways were too wide. There was a lot of complaints. I think being a new venue, the USGA is kind of gotten a little too soft on their setup at a new venue like that, not knowing what to expect and wanting to be in the good graces of the players. But Brooks Koepka, the way he finished that PGA Championship, the way he drove the ball down 17 and 18, which two of the hardest tee shots I've ever seen in person. I think that was an incredible performance, especially coming off that Masters Sunday fail. Yeah, no, for him to not share with anybody what he had learned about the Masters and go out there and win the next major. And again, he had Victor Hovland breathing down hot breath on the back of his neck, and Scottie Scheffler, from a flat Saturday to a run on Sunday, he had to hit all the shots, and he did just that. And one last thing about Harman, because you guys, I know and respect the hell out of him. You win any major by the margin that he won, that's insane. But to do it in your first major, and to not show any cracks, that guy, that was wildly impressive. It was dull because he made it dull, because he was so damn good. And I'm very happy for him. And that golf course, I don't know. What did you think of Liverpool?
I like it. I was lucky enough to play it in 14. I really do like it. I agree with you, though. I think he made it dull. It wasn't a dull tournament. It's just the way he went out and handled his business. Obviously, from a viewing standpoint, you would have liked to have seen it get a lot closer than it really did. But, I mean, kudos to Brian Harman for going out there and getting the job done the way he did. And in the conditions that they had Sunday, to go out and try to close out your first major with a big lead in the rain, I can't think of anything more miserable. And I mean, because it can go sideways in a hurry in that sort of condition. And the tee shot he hit on 18, when everybody and their mother was hitting it left of the railing over there to avoid the internal out of bounds down the right side, he stepped up into the wind, in the rain, and smashed one down the middle. The way he played the 18th hole was just a perfect explanation of the way he played that whole week. Yeah, you look at the major champions. Rahm, the first European to have a U.S. Open and a Masters, Koepka to 5, and 2 first-time major winners. And I think you both are bullish on Wyndham Clark. This is not. We're not going to look back in 10 years and go, God, really? This could be the beginning. Late blooming, finding his space, not being self-defeating, kind of hard on himself by people close to him. And again, his execution, let's just give him a little bit of shine here. He looked like he was in the verge of an Adam Scott slow meltdown, slow burn. Like Lytham and St. Anne's? Yes, exactly. He bogeys 15. Nobody bogeyed 15. 16, a lot of people did. And you're thinking, oh my God, he misses the green left on 17. He's making it. And Rory is where Rory is, and you're going, oh my God. And he gets up and down on 17 and then just pipes it and hits 2 really good shots on 18. Well, I don't know that he piped it off 18. Well, he kind of wiped it over into the right side of the fairway. His lag putt on 18 was a great shot, but the chip on 17, chipping it up there to stone dead, not even having to think about a 4-footer, that was incredible. And he almost made par on 16 after being out of position, hit that beautiful wedge from 55, 65 yards. I can't remember the exact distance, but hit it in there close on 16, darn near safe par. His short game and wedge game, to me this year, I always viewed Wyndham as a bomber of the golf ball, no short game and touch, but man, he's got some touch. Big time. The thing that impressed me was the clarity of thought down the stretch there for Wyndham Clark. He did everything he was supposed to. He took that 3-wood on 14, what Rory should have done, managed to chase it up into that tiny gap, exactly. Make easy 2-putt birdie there. Obviously, little misstep at 15. 16 did exactly what he should have done. Should have really saved par, and then, as you say, 17 and 18. But he looked like he knew exactly what he was doing. Looked like he'd been there 1,000 times. And having a guy like John Ellis on the bag, who's a multi-winner on the Canadian Tour, I think it's 8 times. Having a guy like that, being able to kind of
keep him on the rails there in that kind of pressure situation. Same with country with
very
Scott
much
Tway,
so.
with Brian Harmon.
And that's the thing with Wyndham Clark. You know, you speak to people, his inner circle, they all know how good he's been, and he's finally starting to believe it now, or how good he's been for a long time. He's finally starting to believe that now. So, yes, he's certainly not going to be a flash in the pan.
Yeah, I agree with you. The fairways were too wide and 18 was too wide. One thing about the tee shot on 18 that people are, first of all, if you saw his tee shot on 12, the guy was hitting a big high. I mean, he was hitting that big slider, and he knew what he had. He knew what he had to work with. I mean, it wasn't a foul ball, but I get your point. The fairway was too wide. It was not a foul ball.
I know a thing or two about foul balls at the moment, Gary. That was definitely not.
From my sources, you were finding it.
I'm starting to find it, but a foul ball for me would have been in the middle of the 17th fairway off of 18T, which is right.
All right, give me your moment of the year on the PGA Tour. What was it?
It's got to be Nick Taylor in Canada. It has to be. I mean, just the whole way that went down, to make a 70-footer to win your National Open after 70-odd years, however long it's been. 69 years. That to me was the number one moment of the year.
It was my number one moment, and number one image was the same. It was Adam Hadwin coming in with the champagne bottle, and it's full on. It's just about to just spray all over Nick Taylor, and him getting decked onto the green just added to the element of I remember exactly where I was. It was a playoff, so George Savarikas and I were sitting on the set waiting to come on, and I'll never forget that moment. Nick Taylor's putt, the whole playoff, his putt on 17 and 18 in regulation, like the way he finished that tournament with that amount of pressure, I don't think there was there's no moment that even touches it for me.
No, it is Nick Taylor for me too. And I, like you said, the scene, I feel for Pat Fletcher's family that we're never going to hear his name ever uttered again. They've leaned on that name for decades, and now that Nick has won, it's like, okay, we can lose that storyline. But the Adam Hadwin moment had everything. It had it all, man. I mean, it had him and his exuberance, and he's got this champagne bottle just ready. And the security guard, you talk about being overzealous. He didn't just go and just kind of wrap him up. He decleated him, picked him off the ground, drove him into the ground, and immediately gets swarmed by other people to let him know, hey, man.
And then Adam Hadwin apologizes to the security guard.
That's the cherry on top. Like, of all people, that Adam Hadwin, the delightful guy that he is like apologizing to this guy for taking him down.
Well, and Hadwin, my favorite part of that whole thing is that Hadwin kept the champagne bottle vertical and really did not spill much. I mean,
and for Tommy Fleetwood, it seems inevitable that he's going to win a golf tournament. And he keeps knocking on the door, but that was absolutely it. And by the way, he did it on maybe the most just forgettable golf hole ever conceived, a layup par 5. I mean, you can't hit driver on the hole. Everyone plays to the same distance, essentially, and then you have the same distance into the green.
I thought that whole golf course was pretty forgettable. Maybe one par 3 on the back nine. 14 was even memorable whatsoever. But, yeah, it was I don't think they'll be going back to Oakdale very often.
Yeah, any other moments that you would want to mention? I know one myself that I do, but anybody else?
I think you've got to mention Keegan Bradley winning at Travelers.
Excellent
Obviously,
one.
his hometown event, and you could see what that meant to him. Just the exuberance when he knocked in that little putt there and his family running out. Yeah, that one. And Michael Block's hole-in-one at the PGA.
I like Matt Fitzpatrick's shot on the third playoff hole, RBC Heritage,
Yep.
Jordan Spieth. It was gutting. For me, Jordan Spieth had 2 putts to win on the first playoff hole, second playoff hole, and then you don't give a U.S. Open champion like Fitz a third opportunity, and he just absolutely stoned it. That was one of my shots of the year.
Yeah, I'd go back, in a year in which we're trying to understand the distinction between what were then called designated events and is now going to be part of what the Signature Series is. I'm a fan of the Honda Classic for a couple of reasons. One, the guy who was the executive director, Ken Kennerly, of that event, he still is in the emeritus role, is a lifelong friend. They've been dealt a short hand, and to be sandwiched in the middle of a designated hoagie between the end of the West Coast swing and all those designated events lined up like G5s, and then to have the Arnold Palmer Invitational and the Players on the back end of it, they got a great event, and they got a winner who I personally, because I'm too, am trudging the road of happy destiny in recovery, to see Chris Kirk win that golf tournament. Oh, by the way, over a guy who nobody knew, understandably, who wound up being the best rookie of the year in Eric Cole. That was a great week.
That was a great week, and Chris Kirk didn't play the Genesis, which he was eligible for because he knew Honda was a good fit for him. And you look at that opposite Keith Mitchell. Keith Mitchell's a former champ at Honda, but went to Genesis and chose to not play Honda. And Keith played well at Genesis and was killing it that whole start of the year. But Kirk ends up finishing top 30. Keith Mitchell barely made the playoffs. So I think going forward, guys looking at their schedule a little more closely about what courses fit you and making it a point to play no matter what the purse size is. So
Eric Cole, is he like him? Do you agree he's rookie of the year?
I think so. Obviously Taylor Montgomery got off to a wonderful start, made the PGA Tour look very, very easy in the last fall. Then he cooled off. I think the only other guy you could throw in there is Thomas Dietrich, maybe. I hate to even think of him as a rookie because he's obviously played in Europe for a long time, but is considered a rookie. Yeah. But I think, you've got to give it to Eric Cole.
I think Eric making it to the BMW Championship, and also, he's 35 now. He started the year, he was 34. If you look at some of the places where he's won these minor league golf tournaments, and to think that this guy is now exempt into the Signature Series on the PGA Tour at 35, he kept the lights on somehow, some way, and everybody knows his lineage and obviously, who his parents are. I love the story of Eric Cole. He's my rookie of the year as well.
Yeah, for sure, rookie of the year. Just to give him some love, Nico Echevarria did win Puerto Rico. I think that's about one of 5 cuts he made. And then Vincent Norman, who I think is a young, upcoming stud. I've had the pleasure of walking with his group a couple times and winning at Barbasol this year. I think he's got a bright, bright future, and he's roommates with Ryder Cup team member Ludwig Aberg.
Yeah, no, that's a good one. Who's the player of the year?
John Rahm has to be.
Okay.
4 wins. Nobody else. Well, Victor Hovland
did not win 4. Won 3.
Yeah,
3, and he won the Hero the previous December, which is gets world ranking points, but not an official event.
4 wins plus a major. I think you have to give it to Rahm.
And also that Riviera wins a designated event as well.
Yeah. So he
such a weird candidacy of the players who
If Scotty Scheffler had done anything in the playoffs, given the way Rahm had played, I think I have to give it to Scotty. But now it would be a race between Rahm and Hovland, and if I had to vote, if I still could vote, I would vote Rahm.
Yeah, I would too. I cannot believe that those two guys, as they left Augusta National, one had 4 wins, one had 2, which included the players for Scotty Scheffler. They look like this was going to be Hagler-Hearns through the summer months, throwing haymakers at each other. And it's not that Scotty Scheffler didn't continue to contend and almost win, it seemed like every week, but he never did. And nor did Rahm. And Rahm got really flat in terms of his performances. And, talking about, his driver kind of becoming faulty. It's a weird player of the year kind of campaign. The fact that the guy who won it never won a golf tournament after the first week in April. And Hovland, it's a fantastic year, but it can't be him. It's got to be the guy who won the Masters and had the most wins.
Yeah, I will say about Hovland, though, I think he's really taken a jump.
Big time.
I'm not going to talk about he won 2 Heroes, but those don't really count for me.
I'm with you.
He won Puerto Rico, twice in Mexico, and then this year to go win Memorial as a 120-man field, huge win. Then obviously the BMW and Tour Championship. So I think you're looking at a guy in Victor Hovland who not only had a breakout season this year with those big-time wins, but I think going forward, I put him square the way he played at the PGA Championship without that break on 16 hitting the lip like Corey Connors did the day before. I think we're looking at a major champion right there, and I think he's going to get it done next year.
Yeah, you would. Again, we did this with Rahm. I remember sitting here with you boys talking about who's going to win another. Who could he win another major? And I only just played the odds because 2 major championship seasons just don't happen very much. But I'm with you about Victor. He went from looking kind of overwhelmed by being with Rory at the Old Course in the last major of 2022 to looking very comfortable as the year progressed, from playing well at Augusta National until he hit it into the face there on 16, was like, hell yeah, I can do this. No, there's no doubt. He's the best player and won a major, is he not?
Oh, he has to be. And it wasn't just the PGA. He had, if you include the players, I think his worst finish was T17 in all those events. I mean, he had an incredible major season and maybe was second to Rory and most under par for those 5 events. So I think, I know I don't want to anoint him a major champion, but I would be stunned if he doesn't win one in the next 3 years.
Totally fair. Okay, they don't have the category, but somehow your membership should figure out a way to revive it, because it's a story that should be told. Players are coming back from something all the time. And the Comeback Player of the Year award was retired because you gave it to the same guy 2 years in a row, which is one of the great dubious things that's ever happened in sports. You should bring it back. And my God, this year, Jason Day, Ricky Fowler, Lucas Glover. I mean, I can go on. I add Chris Kirk to that list. If there was a Comeback Player of the Year, who would it be?
I would give it to Lucas Glover.
You would?
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, a guy that's openly battled full-blown yips to come back, win 2 events. I mean, to me, that is a huge, huge story.
Yeah.
It is. He won a tournament in 21, though. He won the John Deere Classic. I mean, I'd throw Justin Rose in the mix, too.
Yeah, good one.
He broke a long winless drought at AT&T Pebble Beach this year. I'd give it to Jason Day if I had to give it to somebody.
Okay.
Or Fowler.
Yeah.
Just because Lucas won 2 years ago. That's the only reason.
Yeah. Lucas won twice, but to your point, it was like, how long was the dark period? And it doesn't take away from his, what he went through, full blown.
Yep.
I mean, the putt that they have from Wyndham, where he hit it literally, it wasn't the heel, it was like the back of the heel that he hit it out of. And oh, by the way, that new putter that is despicable to look at, I've looked down at that thing just out of curiosity. He put that in play for that U.S. Open sectional qualifier and missed a bona fide kick in, and you're going, okay, this ain't going to work either. And he fought through that and got past it and immediately started finishing in the top 5. The Day Fowler thing, to me, because of their relevancy and people paying attention to their results, they had to answer to questions constantly. When are you going to get it right? You're Jason Day, you're Ricky Fowler. I'd split it. I'd give it to both of them, and I'm trying to hedge. Those 2 guys looked into the darkness and found the light again, and they're stars in the game. And I can't imagine what that could do to a psyche to be number 1 in the world. And Ricky was a Players Champion, one of the biggest stars in the world, and to think it might be over. And to do the work and to win again, that's strong.
And for different reasons.
Reasons.
Jason Day didn't know if he was ever going to be able to play. I mean, or swing the club the way he used to, dealt with so many back injuries. So, yeah, that's a testament to those guys for digging deep.
Yeah.
Yeah, the swing difference from Ricky Fowler, his last really nice finish was the CJ Cup back in 21 before this season. And if you look at the side-by-side of how laid off and how awkward his swing looked then to compare to the work that he went through with Butch Harmon for the second time to get it where it is now, I think the swing, I mean, it's remarkable the work he's done and how much trust that takes and how much range session time it takes to make that difference. And he's turned into one of the more consistent seasons out of anybody on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, I was with Butch a couple weeks after that. He came to speak to a bunch of juniors in Las Vegas, and a couple weeks out from this, and you don't think of Butch Harmon as being the emotional type. He got very emotional like that. He has an affection for Ricky that is very real. He was, he's 80 now. It touched him deeply to see all that work pay off and to see Ricky win again. All right, now let's talk about the now. When you look at who is ascending, who's going to play some fall events, give me a name or 2 that people should put down as they look at fantasy golf for next year or ascending to a place that you think these guys have got the chops to be a top 30, top 40 player, can get into designated events or signature events. Give me a name or 2.
Ludwig Aberg.
Okay.
I'm saying this guy will be a top 10 player in the world by middle of next year.
Oh, my gosh. Wow.
I think the sky is the limit.
So the Ryder Cup will be a coming out party for him.
Very much so. I've been lucky enough to watch this guy play in several events now. Covered him at the John Deere. Watched him play a lot in Crans last week in Switzerland. I think this guy has all the tools to make one of the top players in the world.
And he's that kind of guy that's going to have to play this fall too, because he didn't earn his way in the top 125. Now he'll have his card for next year based off PGA Tour U, but he would go into the Korn Ferry category and would reshuffle. So he's going to have to go out there and play for that 125. So we're going to see a lot of him this fall. I agree with that. I also like Sam Stevens. He had that second place finish. The guy's on the up and up, and he's someone that not a lot of people know about. His incredible work ethic, wonderful ball striker. He played with Brant Snedeker Sunday at the 3M, and I was out there and I walked onto the range and said, Brant, I'd like to know what you think of this kid after the round. And he's like, I don't even know what he looks like. And I said, well, he's right there, and he's going to beat the out of you today. And he did. And I think Sam is not afraid of the moment. And I think he's a guy that maybe he doesn't pick up a win this fall, but I think he'll contend, and he's going to win very soon on the PGA Tour.
You know, I remember you mentioning Sam to me. Was it Puerto Rico? Where was it that you
Puerto Rico and Dominican
Okay,
Republic.
both. And I actually did a little thing with him during Wells Fargo week, and I was struck by one thing in particular. Like, he's a grown-up. He has got a family already. He lives in Kansas, and even though he grew up in the Fort Worth area, for family reasons, he makes his home in the state of Kansas. Like, for Sam, he plays golf for a living, and he's like, he knows he's got a plan, and he goes out and he executes that plan. There's not going to be any like clunky, well, he's got to figure out social media, no, he is a grown man. So I like him a lot, and people are they're going to see him pop up, like you said last spring, more and more on leaderboards on the PGA Tour. Somebody who is going to be on the PGA Tour, who I think is going to get acclimated. I'm not saying he's going to win, but I think that he'll have a solid rookie year, is Pearson Coody. If you do all the things, like I look at guys who like don't skip steps. And he was a great junior, obviously. He goes to the University of Texas. They win a national championship. He transitions to professional golf, and he starts winning golf tournaments. The skill of winning, to me, is at the end of the day, the most important skill. I don't think Pearson Coody is going to get on the PGA Tour and go, oh my God, I don't belong here. I think he's going to feel comfortable, and I think he'll be productive.
Comfortable immediately is what you're saying, and that's just the way a lot of these college kids are coming out. Like a Ludwig Aberg, like a Pearson Coody, they come out and they win wherever they are. They're accustomed to it, and the stage doesn't seem to bother them at all.
I was in Jacksonville a couple of weeks ago, and I was talking to James Nitty, who's been doing all of the Korn Ferry Tour stuff, and I said, give me one guy's name, and didn't hesitate at all. Pearson Coody. He said, watch out for this guy. Yeah, he's a consummate professional already, and just expect big things. He's not going to be overwhelmed by any of the moments he has to deal with, and I have to agree.
I also, let me mention one other guy, and we'll see how many starts he may get next year on the PGA Tour. But the eventual, the future buy, the future stock, Chris Guterup he's a Jersey kid, not from North Jersey, unfortunately, but he started at Rutgers, then he went to Oklahoma. Like, he's a big boy. And I think that he's got the chops to be very good at this game at the highest level. He'd be another guy, I would say.
I've heard nothing but good things about him, and it's just amazing watching. I haven't watched enough of the Korn Ferry Tour this year, but these guys coming out.
Oh, it's crazy.
You look at a Scott Gutschewski who still kind of plays pretty good out there still, but these guys are coming up. I would be terrified to go play a season on that tour right now.
Yes. You should be.
It really is ludicrous. I mean, it's really ridiculous. The scores they shoot and how much speed and distance that they have. The examination of like distance in the game, there are a couple places I would recommend people go to look. Like, people want to focus on, well, what are the winning scores at majors? That, to me, is not like where the challenge lies. The challenge lies in trying to find golf courses equipped to kind of defend against the next generation on the Korn Ferry Tour, where they know they got to shoot nothing just to finish in the top 10. I thought it was hilarious. I looked at, like, doing some stuff on the PGA Tour Radio Network. I'm doing scoring on Sunday, and it's like 19 under. He finished 12th. I mean, What you have to do to top 10 there is nuts.
Well, they went and played Matitaconk this year.
Yes, they did.
Do you remember what the
I
winning
do
score?
not. I do not.
Because I'm sure you played there when that place opened. I mean, I caddied for my brother in the Ike there. It was the hardest golf course on planet Earth back in the mid 90s.
Right.
And now I bet they shot 23 under.
You know, I'm sorry, I don't know that. That Matitaconk in Jackson Township, New Jersey, when it was built, it was like, oh my God, this is for the next generation. Well, the next generation. Here's the other thing is, like the Walker Cup. And let me just, as it applies to distance, it's the old course. Gordon Sargent was hitting multiple par fours. It's, look, there are plenty of guys who can do that. When you look at that team, though, is there anybody on that American side that not necessarily going to play on the PGA Tour this year that you want to lay down a future bet on now? You can only take one, and I think there's some good future bets on that team.
I can only lay down one. Nick Dunlap.
Okay.
Guy won the U.S. Junior, won the U.S.
Had one of the
Amateur.
great summers of all time.
He's on a list of two, and that other person is Tiger Woods.
Correct.
As something that, I mean.
Northeast Am, U.S. Am, Junior. Obviously didn't win the Junior this year. Obviously Walker Cup. So he takes Dunlap. Would you take him as well, or you take somebody else?
I would take him, but just for another name, Gordon Sargent.
Yes.
I mean, we watched him. He looked so comfortable at that U.S. Open out there in L.A. He's another guy that I think this is a can't-miss talent.
Rory said after he played his practice round with him at Augusta, he's the first of what will be not many, but some, that this is the first one who can hit it forever and knows where it's going. Like, this is long drive distance type stuff with control of where it's going. I would take Sargent, but just to give you another name, like Caleb Surratt, who's from this part of the world, is a freak show. He's another one. I mean, Ben James is another one. I mean, that group, we could be looking at that Walker Cup team in 10 years and go, oh my God, that's one of the greatest Walker Cup teams of all time.
And to piggyback Caleb, I've been around him a couple times on the
Yes.
driving range. He is, you were speaking about Sam Stevens being a full-grown man. When I met Caleb, he was a freshman at Tennessee.
Yeah.
And he was so mature. I couldn't believe it. Well-spoken, mature. His game is obviously extremely polished, but I just think back to what you and I were like as freshmen, and it's not the same sport.
No, it isn't. As we look ahead to the next year, and you look at, give me somebody who needs to come out of a funk, whether it was 23, whether it was more than 23, whether they need to or you think that they will. Give me somebody, a bigger name that didn't win a golf tournament this year, that you're like, come on, man, you're better than that.
I mean, the obvious answer is Justin Thomas, right?
Yeah.
Got picked for the Ryder Cup team,
Yep.
but he would be the first to tell you that he had a very, very disappointing 23. Guy that you'd expect to contend in majors, win multiple tournaments in a year, and he's had a bad year, and it happens.
Yeah, I mean, I think it speaks to Dustin Johnson's career. What did he win? And I think it was like 14 straight seasons on the PGA Tour. That is no easy feat. Rory's got a nice one going right now. But for me, I've got a couple guys. I think Cam Young needs to win.
Yes.
He's only his third year on tour, and I hate to put that on him, but he needs to win, and he needs to, it's becoming an issue if he doesn't rattle one off at some point. And I think Morikawa needs to win a golf tournament. It's been since the 21 Open Championship, two-time major champion, kind of was anointed this, greatness, and he's got all the skills. He was there at the Rocket Mortgage when Ricky won, but Colin's game is too strong for him not to win more often.
No, both of them totally fair. I'm going to say this. And look, I'm not falling over into the fetal position when he doesn't make a 6-footer, but I'm not far behind. I've been invested in Jordan Spieth for a long, long time. I find him fascinating as a player, as a study of playing the game, the manner in which he plays it. He's got to win golf tournaments, man. And there's something about, he's 30 years old now, and he's going into the Hall of Fame. Whenever the day is, he's going to be in the Hall of Fame. But how many times did you win? And his major championship season, to me, was deflating. It's like, and it's not just the majors, but look, he's a 3-time major champion, and he sits on the doorstep of being in a very small room with only a handful of people having won the career Grand Slam, and who knows if Valhalla is a spot for him. But you mentioned, the heritage. Like, he was possessive of all the magic dust that everybody else looked at and went, it always works out for him. And you can say, well, it's because he made everything. It wasn't just that. He was one of the best iron players in the world as well. That was coupled with him making every 15-footer. He's got to win golf tournaments.
The way he lost, but go ahead.
I was just going to say, we've got to throw Tommy Fleetwood's name out there as well. It's to the point now where he needs to win in the U.S. Like, this is a guy that's contended in so many majors, still hasn't crossed the line over on the PGA Tour.
Yeah, and I mean, it was gut-wrenching. I mean, but I said it before, and I'll say it again. He plays in the biggest events, and those events are so hard.
No doubt.
If Fleetwood wants to rattle off a win, he needs to play the Honda. He needs to play some of these non-signature events where he can go maybe poach one, as opposed to playing all the big ones. But Spieth, the way he lost Valspar this year, the way he lost Heritage,
yes.
Bay Hill, he was in the driver's seat coming down the stretch. Like, that is an issue, and I think it's for me, it's with him when he loses, it's off the tee, 16 at Valspar, start of the snake pit. That's a problem. And I know he said post round he was trying to, he's getting ready for Augusta, and if he didn't have that cut 3-wood off that tee, but I mean, try winning. You practice for Augusta by winning a golf tournament, not hitting some cut 3-wood that you may hit once in the next 2 weeks. I don't know. I would like to have that was his to take, and he let it get away. Yeah,
it's in the Masters thing for him, like, he's going to put together one of the great records at Augusta National ever. Now, it's only going to be really, really great if he wins a couple of times. Like, if you look at Seve in the 80s, outside of, Ben Crenshaw only won one time in the 80s, and he had an exemplary record for that decade, and even beyond that. And Spieth's piling up all these top fives because he's built for that place and he loves it so much and he embraces it. But, like, to your point about, like, what are you doing thinking about a tee shot for a golf tournament that's a month away? Winning golf tournaments fosters winning golf tournaments. And then the other part is like I'm not asking you to make every 25-footer like you did in 2015, which he did. But please don't miss the 6-footers that you need to keep these rounds together. It's agonizing, man, and you agonize more than anybody.
And he did have a good run of solid putting. I thought the Heritage Week, he was rock solid on those short putts. But, yeah, I think you're referring to that putt on 17 at Valspar on Sunday after making the best bogey I've ever seen in my life. That's a triple for most players.
It was better than the bogey he made at the Open in 17?
No, that one was pretty good, too. But then to lace a 3-iron to that back left pin at Innisbrook and miss that putt when he ties for the lead with that. It was very un-Spieth-like, and it's agonizing, and that needs to stop.
So the Tiger thing is, a palms up, we don't know. Do you think he'll play competitive golf in 2024? There is an indication that this last procedure he had is encouraging in the sense it's going to ease discomfort with the lower leg. It's going to help manage the plantar fasciitis. But it's just such it's a mash. He's a mash unit. That's what he is now. He's a question mark. You can't even answer it, really, can you?
I mean, we all want to see him play.
Of course.
I think Genesis wore him down. And then did he withdraw after Saturday at the Augusta?
Yeah,
and that was
brutally cold.
A tough day.
Yeah, it was
for a lot of different reasons, Gary. But that was a rainy, nasty day, and
I remember it.
Yeah, we did some nice riding together that afternoon.
Yes, we did. My feeling is that this venture that he is in, which has the most decorated list of owners, athletes, and Wall Street investment I've ever seen in tomorrow's sports, maybe the only place we see him hit golf shots, which will be in a simulator in like this 10,000-seat arena on streaming services and likely network television, primetime television. I don't know. I hope more. If he does play anywhere, like, is going to Augusta National like really turning up there?
I don't think he should play. I mean,
Really?
for his quality of life,
Yeah,
if
yeah.
You see what this guy's putting himself through just to play a round of golf. There's no way he should be playing.
So, and this is not, none of this is, it's not unfair, but because we simply don't know anything, I just wonder if his next big spot in golf is captaining the next U.S. Ryder Cup team at Bethpage.
I mean, U.S. Open champion there. I think he'd be a great fit for that Ryder Cup. Does he play the Champions Tour if he can ride the
Yes.
golf cart? I mean, I kind of agree. I never would have thought.
Never.
I never would have
Ever.
thought that. But I think he loves playing competitive golf.
Yes.
I think he said he's
It'll
not going to
outlay
play if
tour
he doesn't
events.
think he could. Yeah, well, he won't play the Masters this year if he doesn't truly think he can win. And I don't think there's anything that would prove to him that he could. But is he 47, turned 48 in December?
Yeah.
So I mean, we're possibly a year and a half, 2 years away from him playing.
He literally,
legitimate.
and his birthday is at the end of the year. I believe it's December 30th. So I think it is. And so he would start that new year eligible to play Champions Tour events. And never in my wildest dreams did I think he would ever do that. I thought he'd be out of the game at 40 if he had stayed healthy with 25 majors. I think he absolutely will play Champions Tour events, not 18 of them, but like Jack would play 5 to 7 and he would pick off a couple of senior majors. Hell yeah, he's doing that.
And he can go and get a couple Corn Ferry starts while he's preparing to get ready.
I love when people would say he needs reps. He needs to go play a couple Corn Ferry events. Like, did you really just say that? Not you, but others would. Will LIV Golf live beyond 2024?
I mean, I would have said no. But I think it will, and I think this marriage between Piff and the PGA Tour is not going to go as planned. It's a bigger question mark now for me than it's been. I thought it was really clear. I thought this year was going to be the last year, but I think it's going to go next year, and I think there's a good chance it goes beyond. I think it's going to start declining, and I think the tour's done a wonderful job. I doubt that LIV is going to get a lot of fresh young players unless they poach them from college, but I think the PGA Tour's done such a good job of combating it. But yes, it's going to go 2 more years and then be done.
Okay.
I think it's going to keep going, yes. I think it's going to keep picking up traction.
Wow.
I really do.
They are picking up sponsorship, and it's modest in terms of the profile of the companies, but they haven't stopped their business model. They're moving ahead with apparel deals and sponsorship deals, and as well they should, I suppose.
And who knows how true it is, but everybody you listen to sounds like they're enjoying themselves so much out there. They really feel like they've made the right decision.
You think Harold thinks he made a good decision? I mean, these guys, I look at some, and money doesn't cure all, and the dreams you once had, and they're different and all that stuff. Yeah, I'm hearing the same thing, that there is an enjoyment level. It didn't not exist when they were playing the PGA Tour, but it's different.
Yeah.
And they are hopscotching all over the world. I think they will absolutely play through 24. My thing is that what will this look like in 25? What will the PGA Tour and LIV coexisting as partners to whatever degree it is? What will it be? And I think it's going to be primarily events outside of the United States that will co-op the space together. And I also think what you will see, not immediately, you will see a couple of PGA Tour events go to the Middle East, is what I think is going to happen. So we'll see on
Grow
that.
the game.
Yeah, again, one of the 2 last things. Rory in 2024 will Rory play the best golf he's ever played in his career, or has he already played the best golf he will play in his career?
I'm going to take the optimistic look on that one. I
Okay.
think he's going to play the best golf he's played in the last 8-9 years.
Okay.
Yes, I think he's kind of going to be going off the board soon. He's going to be just fine. I think he wins a major. I always say that, but I think Rory's best golf can still be
It's a smart play to say he will win one.
He drives the ball too good. His wedge game got better throughout this season.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's going to continue to make moves.
I tend to agree with Johnson there. I think the same thing. I think Rory still has his best golf in front of him. I agree he'll win a major. It's not going to be Augusta. Augusta will not be his next major. I think he still will win
I
it
agree
at
with
some
you on
He
that.
will win it at some point, but he's going to have to win another major before that. I still think Rory needs to go out there and hire a very experienced caddy.
Yeah.
I've thrown Steve Williams' name out there. I mean, think about that statement that would make if Rory McIlroy shows up with arguably the best caddy of all time at his side, what that says to the rest of the tour. Like, I'm here and I mean some business.
Yeah. My God, Steve Williams would add Rory to his roster of players that he's caddied for, like Rory and Tiger in one career. I don't think he'll do that. I do think he's going to win a major next year, and I think he's going to win where he won his last one. I don't think the idea of him, and I've gone through this, historically speaking, he's the greatest outlier of all time of anybody who has 5 or more. On average, it took players to go from 4 to 5, 2.5 years. The only reason the number is that high is because Peter Thompson took 7, and he wasn't playing majors in the United States. This is such an extraordinary circumstance where you have someone of that ability, of that level of accomplishment at such a young age for it to dry up. And it's not like it dried up and he never contended. He habitually contends. And it's tantalizingly close, and it's agonizing to watch, like we did at LA North this past year. I think Valhalla is going to be his. I think he's breaking through the vortex after what will probably be another top 5 at the Masters. And if he does win there, he will have just turned 35 years old. He turns 35 at the beginning of May, like Koepka turns 34. Their birthdays are a day apart. Will Koepka win another major in 20? Will he get to 6 and match Phil and Faldo and Trevino?
In his career or next
No,
year?
next year.
Oof. I mean, let's look at where he won. He won at all similar style golf. Of course, Shinnecock, maybe I'd throw that out there. And I think Pinehurst is not a great fit for him. Valhalla could be a good fit.
Yeah.
I could see Brooks, Rory
His
dueling.
4th PGA.
Didn't Koepka finish 4th at Pinehurst
Yes.
last time we were there?
Yes, that was-
Nice, Brendan.
nice pull.
Yeah, I just remember that. He played in front of me.
All right, well, never mind. Maybe he'll win Pinehurst.
That was his first top 10 in a major.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I think Koepka's going to win another one. I really do. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see him win Augusta.
Okay, last thing. A player who has not been number 1 in the world who will get to number 1 in the world next year. This seems like an easy answer.
The only answer would be Hovland, right?
Yeah, it'd be the only answer, right?
I think when you look at it, I think Scotty and Rahm and Rory even, they've separated. That's a tall task. I mean,
It is.
But yeah.
Victor would be the only answer, you think?
Yeah, it has to be. Shoffley maybe, Cantlay maybe, but I mean, especially on the rise he's been on right now, you got to say Victor Hovland.
Yeah, I think it would be him as well. I do think this is the last thing. The Signature Series, in terms of the way it will be presented, half of them will have cuts. So the 3 signature events that are associated with a great player, Arnold, Jack, Tiger, and the players, so 4 of the 8 will have cuts. In 2025, will that still be the same number?
I would hope not. I would hope more of them would. And I would like for those player-hosted events to go up to at least 100. I mean,
I'm begging you, please.
The cut from 70 to 80 down to whatever it's going to be, 50.
Come on.
Go to 100, then cut it to 50 if you want.
How many examples do we need of the depth in the game now that these fields don't need to be 70 players?
I thought it took away from the BMW this year, being only 50 guys, and I think the Tour Championship is not the greatest event to watch. I mean, you've got half the field has no chance to win, and I was surprised. I think at one point on Friday or Saturday at the Tour Championship, I think it was Friday, there was a lot of guys within a couple shots of the lead, and it was the first time in forever I can remember seeing that. But then it turned into a two-horse race, and I think the smaller the field, the less guys have a chance to win, and I think it makes for more compelling TV when you've got stronger, deeper fields.
Okay.
I think they look completely different 2025. I think we're going to see a cut in all of those Signature Series events. The fact that you've got Tiger Woods, Jack Nicklaus, and Arnold Palmer,
Sure.
3 of the biggest names ever in this game, cuts in those events. I think we're going to see 2025. There will be a cut in every one of those, and hopefully with you guys, those fields are somewhere in that 100, maybe even 120 range.
Yeah, I hope it's at least 100. Again, you can't talk about how we're the best, deepest tour in the world and then eliminate like your talking point that you are the best, deepest field in the world as far as a tour. We've seen too many examples. I mean, Lee Hodges. I mean, really? People are going, who's that? I'll tell you who Lee Hodges is. There's 15 of those guys walking and hitting balls on the range every week on tour.
Right.
This is a tour full of freaks.
I got a question for you.
Yes.
Top 50 from this year. How many are going to be different after the season in 2024?
I love that. The challenging part is that there could be more, but there won't be more because the system will allow these guys, because they'll get all those starts, to embed themselves and be insulated. I'm going to say 8. Okay.
It's a great question. It's back to like the World Golf Championships, right? If you're in those World Golf Championships, it was hard to get out of them.
Exactly.
It's a great question.
Show up money.
I'm going to say probably not many more than that. I was going to say 10 to 12 at most.
Yeah, I've been saying 6. I'm going to stick with it.
Okay.
We'll see. I got the printout.
I love it. I love the whole idea of the relegation. All right, boys, have a great fall season. Love that. How about this guy back grinding?
I know. I like to hear it. He needs
The
to.
only reason is because Graham had a putt to beat him at Carolina Golf and Country Club a couple of weeks ago.
I got to put it off. He's turned into a great young player, and I can't wait for him to beat me. I was actually rooting for him to make that putt, but I was happy that I want to force him to get better. I don't want to just roll over and die.
Paul Lawrie got on another Ryder Cup team because of the motivation he got from his kids saying, "Who are you?"
Yeah. Right.
Which is great. Well, thank you, boys, very much. And most importantly, thank you to all of you out there for watching and listening what has been a preview of the PGA Tour.